published 1054 est, the 23rd of November. The 2017 updated 1340 est, the 23rd of November 2017. More than 700,000 men were victims of domestic abuse in the last year, shocking new figures reveal. Men make up more than a third of the 1.9 million adults in England and Wales who say they were attacked or abused by spouses or family members in the past year. The new Office of National Statistics ONS report found that, overall, 1.1 million domestic abuse-related incidents were reported to police by men and women in the year ending March 2017. The number of complaints to police is much lower than the 1.9 million recorded in a larger-scale crime survey, which included many people who did not report their abuse to authorities. The figures are so high partly because the report defines domestic abuse as any incident of controlling, coercive, threatening behavior, violence, or abuse rather than specific attacks. The number of male victims of domestic abuse is as close to the number of female victims as it has been in years after stats revealed more than 700,000 reported domestic abuse last year. The stats show that older men and younger women are most likely to be victims of abuse despite the number of male victims falling in the last 5 years. The statistics show male victims now make up a higher percentage of overall victims than in recent years. The report states the difference between the estimated number of male and female victims, 522,000, is at its lowest compared with previous years. The report comprises figures taken from the police, the government and victim support groups, as well as larger-scale crime surveys. Men suspected of killing wives 114, men suspected of killing their female exes 42, boyfriends suspected of killing girlfriends 35, men suspected of killing male partners 32, men suspected of killing lover rival or lover's spouse 23, women suspected of killing male partner or ex 40, women suspected of killing female partner or ex 1. But many victims do not see justice, and there were just 46 arrests per 100 domestic abuse-related crimes recorded by 39 police forces last year, the report said. Police made 93,590 prosecutions for domestic abuse in the year ending March 2017, of which 76%, around 71,000, secured a conviction. The figures also show how many people were killed in family or domestic disputes: 319 women and 135 men. Most of the women killed were attacked by a male partner or ex, whereas the men who were killed by a male partner or a love rival. The data also reveals the ages of the victims, with around 1 in 10 women aged 16 to 19 saying they had been victims. The figures remained high for women aged 20 to 24, with 9.6% reporting abuse. As the overall percentage of people who say they are victims of domestic abuse has fallen, the percentage of those who are men has risen despite the high number of male victims. CPS stats show men are the defendants in a high proportion of cases and women are the complainants. A court heard in September how an abused husband set up a secret camera to film his drunken wife attacking him because he didn't think police would believe him. Neil Tweedy, 45, endured up to 12 years of violence at the hands of schoolteacher spouse Helen, including an assault on the wedding night in which she smothered him with a duvet and forced him to sleep on the sofa. But for years Mr. Tweedy believed his binge-drinking wife, also 45, would change and failed to report the attacks to authorities. Neil Tweedy recorded his wife's drunken attacks on him over fears he wouldn't be believed. A court heard she even beat him on the wedding night or eventually took action after the couple had a child and she continued with her abusive behavior towards him. Mrs. Tweedy admitted 3 charges of common assault by beating at Manchester Magistrates' Court and was issued with a restraining order banning her from contacting her husband. After the case, he said the problem was just alcohol. She was admitted to hospital twice in the past year and could have He said he didn't support the restraining order as it made shared access to their child difficult. Katie Goes, chief executive of domestic abuse charity Women's Aid, said ONS data cannot currently offer the picture. She said domestic abuse by its very nature, hidden behind closed doors, is hard to capture in statistics alone. Survivors often do not involve official bosses. It takes great courage to report abuse to the police. Some women will never speak out because they don't know if they will be believed, are not given the space to make the call, or fear the repercussions if they do report the perpetrator to the police. 1. Staffordshire 2. Cleveland 3. Durham 4. Kent 5. South Wales. Source: police force data. Reports can encompass emotional and financial abuse as well as UAL abuse and violence. Durham, Cleveland, Gwent, South Wales and London were among the police areas which reported the most domestic abuse incidents and crimes per 1,000 people last year. The fewest combined incidents and crimes were recorded in Cheshire, Dyfed, Powys, Surrey, North Yorkshire and Thames Valley. The stats show the large number of cases that do not lead to successful prosecutions, with victim non-attendance the most common reason for cases failing. Campaigners have bemoaned a postcode lottery for victim of domestic abuse and violence. Some areas, such as Wales, currently have 5 times the number of beds as the worst areas. In southwest England, there are only 2 refuge beds for every 1,000 victims in the area. National Police Chiefs Council lead for domestic abuse, Louisa Rolfe, said today's figures show that we are improving the way that police, prosecutors and wider society understand and deal with cases of domestic abuse. More people are coming forward to report this complex and often hidden crime type, and as a result we have seen higher levels of prosecutions and arrests overall. However, we know that many victims still do not report domestic abuse to us, so we are working to give people confidence that police will always act to safeguard victims, as a priority, such as through issuing protection orders or working directly with victims' charities. No one should live in fear of domestic abuse, and every victim should be safer for having contacted the police. The stats show fatal attacks on ex-girlfriends usually happen less than a month after splits. Sharon Edwards stabbed lawyer David Edwards 2 months after they married. A solicitor was beaten and eventually killed by his abusive wife after losing his job, a court heard last year. Bullying and violent. Sharon Edwards stabbed lawyer David Edwards to death at their home in Chorley, Lancashire, just 2 months after they married in Las Vegas. Edwards liked the idea of being a solicitor's wife, and that when her husband lost his job, their already rocky relationship deteriorated further. Before his death, Mr. Edwards had been the victim of forceful bullying and had suffered at the hands of Edwards during the turbulent year-long relationship in which he was regularly beaten and belittled. Her trial heard. This torment culminated in him being fatally stabbed in the heart with a kitchen knife. Friends and colleagues had warned the besotted solicitor to leave domineering and possessive Edwards after he began turning up on the court circuit with black eyes, scratches and bite marks, even disclosing to one that his wife had hit him with a coffee table and an ashtray. The court heard that part of Edwards' rage was because her new husband had been made redundant and was later sacked.